that, Ricky. Come on, you got to be impressed.
I'm impressed.
Not only did they use it, they used the wrong tape.
No, that's Jimmy.
It's him, right?
he looked like a professor.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Lee. Welcome to the Philly Sports Convo. This is episode number 23, and my guest, the guy I know well. I work with this guy pretty much every morning. He's one of my favorite people to talk to. We'll get to him in just a second, but first, I want to take care of some business. We got this great shop at phillysportsconvo.com. We've got all sorts of items. You can get the Convo logo on, t-shirts and hats and sweatpants. And let's see, there's coffee mugs and what do you call it? Tumblers and blankets. You name it. There's magnets. So check it out, phillysportsconvo.com, and click on shop. You'll be taken there. Also, I host 2 trivia nights every week. Don't want to brag, but they're a lot of fun. They really are. Tuesday nights, 7 to 9, Mike's York Road Tavern in Warminster. Thursday nights from 7 to 9, Pal's Tap House in Huntington Valley. Best pizza you will ever have, okay? All right, with that, let me bring on my guest. This guy you see on PHL17, he's he's Mr. Everything. One day he'll be covering like a hard news story. The next day he'll be covering the Eagles. The next day he's doing some feature hit, riding monster trucks. But the guy is versatile, and I love versatility, and I love working with this guy. It is the great Tyrone Sharper. Tyrone, how are you, pal? Thanks for doing this.
I'm doing great, Jay. It's a privilege and an honor, and it is awesome to be with the great Jason Lee.
Oh,
today.
stop it! I mean, keep talking. Is what I meant. So we were having a talk, and this happens to us a lot in the palatial halls of PHL17. You and I get into these passionate sports discussions, and the other day I thought to myself, this is a podcast right here. Why don't I ask Tyrone to come on? Because I love talking sports with you. And it just so happens that as you come on, we got a lot of sports to talk about. So we're recording this on Wednesday night. What's today's date? The 15th or 16th? It's the 16th. All right.
The 16th.
We're recording this on Wednesday night, October 16th. So the Phillies just had their end of the season press conference with Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson. It was incredibly frustrating. We got a lot of Eagles stuff to talk about, all the Nick Sirianni antics. We got Joel Embiid saying he can't play back-to-back games anymore. So we got a lot to cover, all right? But I want to talk Phillies first of all, and this is what you and I were talking about the other day. You're just generally speaking, your thoughts on that press conference with Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson. Were you as frustrated as I was?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, since the season has ended, I've been frustrated. I don't think the frustration is ever going away. But with the press conference, it was just I was a little bit surprised by the extension to hear that he's going to be around that much longer. A little bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting the announcement at that time. The extension itself is not a surprise, but I feel like there were a lot of things that were not addressed that maybe fans want to hear addressed in that press conference. Maybe we're expecting some big changes on the team, and we're hearing, oh, this is a good team. This is a championship team. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, if it's a championship team, why are we not on Broad Street or preparing to go on Broad Street?
That's a good question.
Instead, we are here talking about losing to the Mets. You know what I mean? So, yes, the frustration is probably as high as everyone else's after hearing that press conference.
Yeah, because, listen, you have to respect Dave Dombrowski's track record. He's won pretty much everywhere he's been. But I was surprised at all the excuses that I heard at the press conference. I mean, you want to talk about a reach. He was talking about, the chase rate, and that the Mets actually chased more than the Phillies did. But, okay, fine, maybe they did. Well, the Phillies have better starting pitching, so that makes sense. But the Mets got better timely hitting, and he didn't address that. And that's I would have loved to have heard, like you, I'm big on accountability. Just say, you know what? We were bad. Yeah. I mean, we didn't get it done, and we have to do better. I mean, he sort of kind of did say that, but after all the excuses, I wish I would have heard more from Dombrowski.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to talk about what the Mets did well at this point, it really doesn't matter too much. It's not what we want to hear as fans or even reporters, or we want to hear something like you said, accountability that shows accountability. Like, okay, we clearly can see that the Mets know how to play small ball. We can see that they're not swinging for the fences. All of that is very obvious. We're watching the game, but I'm with you. I would have liked them to go a little bit deeper into what's going to happen with this team, because it looks like there's a slope here and it's going straight down. You go World Series, you go NLCS, and you go NLDS, you're eliminated. And it's just like, whoa, what is happening? Is the window closing for this team?
That's a valid question because you probably remember the last great Phillies team or the last great Phillies period of time. It was, from 07 to 11. And the same thing happened because they lost the World Series in 09. They lost the NLCS in 2010. They lost the NLDS in 2011. And then they didn't make the playoffs for over a decade after that. So, yeah, I mean, it is the window closing. When you look at the lineup and you kind of look toward next season, there's always the question: is Kyle Schwarber the right guy to hit leadoff? I kind of did a total 180. The beginning of last season, I didn't want him in the top spot, but I kind of came around because he does. He's got home run power, and that you don't see that very often in a leadoff guy. But maybe spring training coming up, maybe that's when you move him down in the lineup. What are your thoughts on that?
Here's where I think that falls on Rob Thompson, because at some point you're saying, okay, like you said, Jay, he has the power, he can hit home runs, but a leadoff home run is great to start the game. But if that's the only run scored in the game, it's not really helping us much. So
as we saw in game one of the NLDS, right?
Exactly. So it's like I look at Rob Thompson and say, okay, you have to look at this lineup and okay, let's try to get some base runners on for him. And then he pops one out of the park. And now we got, now I'm like, oh yeah, Kyle Schwarber belongs in this spot. I don't believe he's a number one spot either. It's great to get that start right out where he's just a Schwarbomb just to start the game. It's fantastic, but it can't be the only run scored. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, but I think Rob Thompson has to see that.
So, okay. So let's say Tyrone Sharper is the manager of the team. Who's your leadoff guy? Is it Stott? Is it Turner? I mean, I don't know if I'd put Turner there.
Oh my goodness!
But is it Bryce Harper? Maybe you put Harper there. Who do you put at leadoff?
I wouldn't be opposed to Bryce Harper, honestly, because sometimes Bryce goes in these slumps as well, where he went, what was it, like 20 or 30 games where he didn't hit a home run. So it's like, okay, maybe I do put Bryce up there to lead things off, and maybe put Trey 2, Schwarber 3, and whoever else in that 4 spot. That's the beauty of this Phillies lineup. You have guys that can hit the ball.
There are options.
They're just always swinging. They're always swinging for the fences, number one. And then I just think they're not patient at the plate. But these are guys, we had like what, 9 All-Stars, 7 All-Stars, something like that this year. So you have a good roster, but again, I am a little bit critical more in baseball when it comes to the coach than in football with like Sirianni, which we'll get into, where managing the game is big. Like you have to put your bats in the right order. You have to put guys in the right place to help your team win. So I don't know. You can move a lot of guys around in that lineup.
Well, you can, and you're right. The manager really can put his imprint on a baseball team. So that brings us to Rob Thompson and his managerial performance in the NLDS. There were a lot of decisions, at least that I questioned. And let me preface everything by saying I thought he deserved an extension. I didn't think he should be fired, though I disagree with a lot of what he did in the NLDS. I'd like to see him get a better feel for the bullpen. I don't understand a lot of his bullpen decisions. Yes. I didn't understand bringing Jose Ruiz in. What was that, game 2 in the 6th inning in a high leverage situation? I didn't understand bringing Jeff Hoffman back out for the 6th inning. I guess that was in game 4, and then all the time he left him in, and then. You've got Zach Wheeler. Bringing Zach Wheeler out of the bullpen. I mean, game 4 was all hands on deck. I'd love to see Topper get a better feel for the pitching staff. What's your view overall on Rob Thompson? Did you think he deserved to come back?
I think he deserved to come back. 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 I think he deserved to come back Yeah, I think because of his history and his success since he's been in Philadelphia, he does deserve that opportunity. He's here to, I believe, what, 2026. So it's not like
Yep.
a 5 year or something like super long. Like okay, you have another small window. The trophy back. I can't say the explicit that was said
Hey man,
at
this
the
is online.
postseason,
You can
but
say whatever you want.
but you go get the trophy back. I don't have a problem with the extension because of the success. At the same time, I really would like to see. I wanted to hear in that press conference what is the plan going forward with
Right.
this team. It's obvious they have the talent, but like what are you going to do? And I'm with you when it comes to the bullpen. I think that's the biggest problem for the Phillies. And it's like we're sitting at home watching and we could see the very obvious. It was like we were up 1 run and we're bringing in Hoffman in, and I'm going, this game's over.
Yeah. Well, and
I've
that
seen
was
this team enough this year to know 1 run is not enough. And then he comes in and boom, there's 4 runs right off the
and
bat.
that was that was the sad thing about it because I've heard what you just said from a lot of friends and a lot of Phillies fans. We're all watching the game
Yeah,
knowing that that one run is not enough. And
absolutely.
it was the same thing in game 1. You know, because it
Yes.
was 1-0 for the longest time. I still hear people say reasonable people, at least I thought.
Hmm.
I still hear people say that Topper should have kept Zach Wheeler in that game, and he was up
Yes.
at 110 pitches. I don't know your thoughts on this, but I didn't have a problem with him taking Wheeler out. I mean,
Yeah.
Wheeler's at 110. How much more are you going to get out of him? So
Yeah.
I could see the argument either way. What were your thoughts on that?
I was of the other side of keeping him in only because it's a short series. I think at that point he was so if he's pitching a shutout game, I
Yeah.
don't trust my bullpen. It's a short series. I push him a little bit further. I would, but I also wouldn't have brought in, I believe he brought Hoffman in after Wheeler or something. Somebody came in.
Yeah, that was one because it was like one after the other. It was Hoffman and then Strom, and
Yes.
just like that, the game was out of hand.
Yes. So for me, yes, I was more of so like, okay, he's going out of the game. It's over. I don't believe that we're going to win this game now. So I was not opposed to leaving him in, but I can see your side as well. I mean, you want to keep these arms ready just in case they move until to the next round. But I probably would have made a better decision on who was coming out of the bullpen in that moment.
Now,
Obviously, the bats were cold at that
right,
time.
right, and listen, I totally get. I've heard people say, keep Wheeler in until like if he lets a runner or two on base,
Mhm.
you bring him back out, but you have a short hook in that. What was it, the eighth inning? I
Yeah.
guess he would have come out in. You have
Yeah, I think he pitched 7, something
right.
like that.
So I see that to a point. I just know that, and like you said, look, the playoffs are a different animal. Like short series, I get that. I just
Mhm.
know that anytime, well, like for instance, if a pitcher has a no hitter going and you leave him in the game where he's at like 110, 120, 125 pitches, but you want him to get that no hitter, and he kind of
Yeah.
overextends himself, it seems like the next couple of starts it really affects him. And you don't
Yeah.
want that to happen to Zach Wheeler, but
Fair
I
point.
do see your point. I'm curious. At the press conference, they announced, as we said, the Topper's extended, but they also announced that his entire coaching staff is not only
Yes.
back next season, but they're also extended through 2026. Did that surprise you?
Yes. Absolutely it did. Um, I mean, again, I don't put a whole lot on the coaches. That's just my personal thing as an athlete. I'm thinking to myself, I got to go out there and play. So I've talked to people where they're saying, "Oh, let's get rid of the hitting coach. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of that." And I'm like, the guy still got to go out there and hit. So, I mean, I don't care who comes in here. You can have the greatest hitting coach. If the players don't hit the ball, and we've heard this quote many times, it's the hardest thing in baseball is to hit the ball,
Yeah.
right? So it's not an easy task, no matter who your coach is. So it was a little surprised that there were no changes on the coaching staff with the way you win 95 games. You look at your roster, you got all of these finalists for gold gloves and all these things coming up. And you think to yourself, well, there has to be a change, right? No, he just bring everyone back. So it was a little bit of a surprise, but when you look at this roster and what it can be, I think that's what allows the entire coaching staff to come back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I know a lot of people were kind of clamoring for Kevin Long, the hitting coach, to go because of the obvious struggles with the lineup. And it seems like the lineup's been cold almost the entire second half of the season. I mean, they were limping going into the playoffs. The only thing I like about it, about the entire staff coming back, I heard might have been Mike Missinelli. I heard somebody on the radio say this, and I thought that's a great point. I agree with it. That you bring the entire coaching staff back. You're pretty much telling everybody this was not on the staff. This is on the players. This is their fault. And
think about that.
That I kind of liked. I mean, I kind of liked it because as you said, I mean, these are professional athletes. I mean,
yes, they are.
Listen, coaching is important no matter what level you're at. But by the same token, if you're a multi-million-dollar professional athlete making $30 million a year, you should be able to motivate yourself. You should be able to, get yourself in the batting cage and go over and above and practice. And I'm not saying they don't do that, but if they did, they didn't get the results.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I go out and practice for my adult rec league. So, and I'm getting paid. I pay to play in that league. So if you tell me I'm making that much money, I'm hitting a ball to Broad Street from home plate.
What
just
what position do you play?
I play safety and wide receiver.
Okay, football.
And I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I am pretty good. But again, it just to that point, if I'm making that much money, I have nothing else to do but to be good at what I'm getting paid that much to do.
Exactly.
And that would be my focus. That would, outside of my family and God, that would be my focus to just be the best. So my hitting coach doesn't have to be there with me. I'm going to be, like you said, at the batting cages. I'm going to be at the field, putting the work in. That I see that money in my account, and I'm ready to do whatever I need to do to keep it coming into the account.
The check is the motivation, right? So yes. you said you play what? You safety and wide receiver? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So
I move around the corner too.
So both sides of the ball. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't come off the field much. I don't come off the field.
That's old school, man. That's the way it used to be, like in the 50s and 60s playing football.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I love to play. I love to stay active. So
do you like offense or defense better?
I like scoring touchdowns, so I like offense, but I don't really get tried much anymore in this league. They don't try to throw to my side that much because I've caught too many interceptions. But
doesn't want to brag or anything.
So I scored. They can't stop the touchdown, so I just continue to score touchdowns.
So in terms of being a wide receiver, would you say are you more AJ Brown like? Are you more skinny Batman? What are you? Are you T.O. from back in the day?
Like, oh, okay. So, all right. So I'm not limited to just now. Okay. I would say I'm a little bit of Devontae Smith and Ocho Cinco.
Wow. Okay.
Ocho, I do a little trash talk, not much, just a little bit. I'm very nice on the field, but it's friendly trash talk. But when it comes to being on the field, Ocho had really good, he had really good footwork, and Smitty has really good footwork. And I think one of my strengths is route running, and both of them are really, really good route runners. So I would say I'm like a mixture of them.
We got to come up with a good nickname, like Ocho Sharper or something. I don't know. We got to
see how Ocho feels about that.
we got to come up with a nickname for you. That's really cool. Well, you know what? I mean that kind of dovetails into talking about football.
Yes.
Anybody who watches PHL17 on Monday mornings. Seeing you outside the link, we know what a huge football fan, what a huge Eagles fan you are.
Yes.
And you and I talked about this in the building. The whole thing with Nick Sirianni. I mean, look, I remember, was it a couple of years ago, making fun of him when I had Sports Scene, when I had the TV show. I was talking to John Kincaid right after he made that comment about watering and. Watering plants. Are we watering? Are we fertilizing? But from that point on, the team, like, things turned around and they ended up going to the Super Bowl that season. So we thought, okay, maybe this guy's onto something. But then it's like, nah, he's a little strange. I mean, give me your thoughts on Nick Sirianni and just his antics from last week, giving it to the crowd and the press conference with his kids up there. Your thoughts on all that stuff.
Oh man, I was fired up coming back from my one of my hits the other day, listening to I think 94 WIP, and he calls in apparently every Tuesday, and I'm listening to him talk, and I'm like, he's saying a whole lot of words, but he is not saying anything. And I am a bit frustrated with Nick Sirianni. I'm okay if they were to get rid of Nick Sirianni. It's nothing personal, but
Yeah,
I think uh I don't know. I mean, you hear from players like Brandon Graham and all these other guys that speak highly of him inside the building, right? We're on the outside looking in. So inside the building, these are guys that actually are coached by him and are in meetings with him. We're hearing press conferences, they're not going to say a whole lot. But honestly, what he did on Sunday really rubbed me the wrong way because I'm thinking to myself, first of all, growing up in Philadelphia, being a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, you don't chirp at Philadelphia Eagles fans.
no.
It's the quickest way to lose your job. Like they will come for you and says, okay, they're on me too much. I gotta let you go. I thought that was I don't know. It was a corny move. I didn't like it at all. I didn't think he had the right to do that. The
Agreed.
Browns, people are not giving credit to the Browns, but I think the Browns are not as bad as their record shows. I think they just have bad quarterback right now who's not playing well. I think their defense are strong. And in that situation, they come into the game, season on the line, 1-4. They're going to play hard. So I'm not going to say, oh, you beat the 1-4 Browns. But at the same time, the Eagles are a better team than the Browns. So for you to beat this team by 4, um, it's high expectations on the team and you're not meeting those, like you don't have the right to chirp at Eagles fans. You just don't. And taking the kids up there, you know me, I've brought my little guy to work plenty of times before. And his explanation on 94 WIP was, it's a memory for my kids. And they like to be up there. They like to go on stage. I totally am okay with that. The biggest dad, right? We love our kids. We want to make them. That situation was not appropriate. I just don't think it was appropriate. I do feel like he used them as a shield.
Well, listen, and look, and I've got 2 kids. My kids are older now, but back in the day, I had them on the radio with me. I had them on TV with me, just like you did with your son Josiah. But
Yeah.
but there's an appropriate time and place. Like you had your son with you when you were doing the monster truck. The monster
Right.
truck hits. You wouldn't have your son with you
Yes.
when you're covering a robbery or a fire. You know what I mean?
No.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like if Nick Sirianni wants to have his kids, after they win the NFC Championship or after they win the Super Bowl, hey, that's awesome. Okay, but not after a game where you
Perfectly
barely
fine.
squeaked it out against one of the worst teams in the NFL. It's like there's a time and a place, and you got to read the room. And I agree with everybody. And I think it was Mike Sealski with he had an article in the Inquirer about it, and he pretty much called him out. And, he had his kids up there, as you said, as kind of a shield because he didn't think he'd get the tough questions. He still got the tough questions, but that's why he had his kids up
did.
there. That's wrong, man.
My
That's just
issue
wrong.
is, yeah, my issue is that it was a little contradictory to talk about some of the things he talked about, and then it's all about the moment and things like that. But then he was posed with the question about using them as a shield, and then he says a curse word in front of his kids, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
you're using them as a shield to hard questions, which reporters are likely not going to curse at you anyway.
Yeah.
But you're cursing right in their ear to the point where he said his wife had to tell him stuff. Don't curse in front of them. So it's like, what questions were going to be as hard in front of your kids? Why are you? It's like so unnecessary to bring them up there in that moment. Just take the heat, answer the questions.
Yep.
You know where you are. You know the city is they're going to want answers. They're going to keep asking you the same questions until you say something they like. So it was really no avoiding that unless you brought your kid to you.
It always amazes me, when you see people come to Philly from other places. Very few people get this town and get this fan base and get this attitude. I mean, for him to say, well, we don't like the booing. I mean, it's not productive when they boo us. Fans have, and not just in Philly, fans everywhere have every right to boo. And if you ask a guy,
Yes.
one of the old school guys, Larry Boa, okay? If you ask Larry Boa, he will tell you the fans in this town made him better. John Kruk will tell you, Jason Kelsey will tell you the fans in this town made them better. It takes,
Yeah.
I don't know why, because it just seems like common sense to me, but it seems like it takes a special attitude and a special person to get what playing here means, and that it is a special place, and that the fans can actually motivate you.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that, and I've been saying that since the whole booing thing just irritates me. I like not just with Philadelphia, but first of all, Philadelphia is not the only city that boos their players when they're not doing
That's
well.
exactly right.
Let's just clear this up. I don't understand why we just act like we're just like the problem child of every single professional team in the country. No, I've seen much, much worse behavior from fans, and I've worked in a link for 10 years. I've seen almost every team come through there in 10 years. I don't even like Dolphins fans anymore because of the way they behaved when they came to our stadium. It's the Dolphins, the AFC team, but they came in there and they did not behave well. So it's like booing is their right. It's not like they can call Sirianni, Jalen Hurts on the phone and say, "Hey, you had a bad game today." No, in that moment, that's the only voice they have is to boo.
Yep.
If you're doing bad, it's the only way they can let you know that they're unhappy and I'm on the brink of not supporting you anymore and buying merch and coming in here and spending hundreds of dollars to see you play like a middle school team. I am not this. So I am not happy with the whole idea of, oh, when they boo, it doesn't make us feel good. Well, boo who?
Exactly.
To your point about playing in
Exactly.
Philadelphia, and to your point about playing in Philadelphia and it being special, I was listening to LaShawn McCoy, who played here,
Yes.
who's going into the Eagles Hall of Fame. He said everybody can't go to Philadelphia. It is a special place, just like you just said, and it is a tough place. It is a blue-collar city. It's a hardworking city. It's a rough city. And it's just like everybody can't go there. And this is a guy who played here, who's here. And I think coming from a player, it means more. And I don't know. I don't think we'll ever not have the reputation of, oh, they don't appreciate their players and they booed. I tell you one thing, being in that stadium, we have some of the smartest fans. They know what's going on in the game. Like they know what's happening. They know when to boo, they know when to cheer,
No
they know the
doubt.
calls, they know what's going on. So if they're booing, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they know exactly why they are booing.
Did you catch during the Fox broadcast Sunday, Jonathan Vilma, the analyst on the broadcast for the game? At one point, the crowd started booing, rightfully so. And Kenny Albert, oh, the boo birds are out again. That's a bad Kenny Albert. That sounds more like his father, Marv Albert. But Jonathan Vilma's like, I don't know what they're booing about. I'm like, really? I put on Twitter, did he just say they don't know what they're booing about? I mean,
oh my gosh, I don't think they understand that the fans in Philadelphia have high expectations for this team. Look at this roster. I mean, look at them. And oh, we have a new offensive coordinator. They've been built up the whole offseason. Oh, we have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They're expecting to go out and just destroy these teams because of what they have on paper.
right.
The changes that have been made. And when it's Philadelphia, they're gonna let you know. So I don't know. They gotta relax on this whole booing thing. It's a part of going to a game, honestly.
I remember what John Kruk once said about getting booed in Philadelphia, and he said something. This isn't a direct quote, but it's close. He says something along the lines of, "You don't want to get booed, then don't suck, and you won't get booed." It's simple as that. And I remember when John Kruk was inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame. He ended his speech. It was a great speech. He ended it by saying something about, for all the players and all the people who think that this is a rough town, you didn't have the guts to play here and succeed here. And it's like you love players like that who embrace this town because I mean, John Kruk's not a Philly native, but he seems to get us. Sticking with the Eagles, I got to ask you this. I mean, so they barely squeak by Cleveland. They got the Giants coming up. You and I talked about this at the station this morning, and I remember saying to you, this game's not a gimme, and you said, absolutely it's not a gimme. What happened Sunday? I mean, could they come out of the Meadowlands or at the MetLife Stadium with a loss?
Yeah, I absolutely. I don't know. I don't know, Eagles fans, I don't know how they're going to feel about this. I don't know if you'll find a bigger Eagles fan. At the same time, I am the realest Eagles
You got to
fan.
keep it real. You always do.
And before I'm an Eagles fan, I am an athlete and I am a fan of the game. So I have to put my fandom aside.
Yeah.
I, I have to say that they're not playing well. So I think I said to you in the studio, honestly, there is no game with the Eagles right now that is a gimmick because they can find a way to struggle with anyone,
Yeah.
honestly.
Agreed.
You go into that game, you're looking at the Giants roster and you're saying, it's no way the game should be close, but it's the NFL. I feel like the NFL is the WWE, right? Sometimes it just seems like it's not real. I'm like, this is not happening at this level of football, but it does. So honestly, I have a feeling that the Eagles will win the game. I think they will have a lot of energy. I think with all of the Nick Sirianni stuff that has happened this week, they got a little chip on their shoulder. Maybe they want to play for their coach. Maybe they want to play for Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon is going to want to go in there and tear the turf up at MetLife. But
Absolutely.
it's a divisional game, and we know if you're a fan of the Eagles, any NFC East game could go either way, right? Almost every year we predict that they're going to split unless one or the other is really, really bad. But I do think the Eagles will win this game, maybe by 10.
Really?
Maybe by 10.
You
I
think it's a
think
double-digit win? No kidding.
I sure hope so. I just have a good feeling this week. I think that defensive front is going to play well. The Giants offensive line had just took a big blow. So I think that defensive front has an opportunity to kind of really just take advantage of that. The only thing that fears me is that the one thing that we have going for us is that we have depth at the cornerback position, but they're young. So I don't know, they Kenyon Mitchell has showed me that he is ready to play the NFL. He's been very impressive. But I don't know. I don't know what schemes they got going, but I do think this game could go either way.
So if the Eagles need help at cornerback,
I'm ready.
can you help them out? I mean,
I am ready right now.
what number do you wear, Tyrone?
I wore 3 in high school.
Okay.
I've also wore 9. Right now we don't have numbers in the rec league that I
Oh,
play in.
really? Okay.
Yeah. We just wear kind of the same color shirts.
So now the 3 and the 9, were they just given to you randomly, or did you pick them out?
3 I picked out because it was my senior year. So seniors got to, I believe, pick out our numbers that year. I believe 9 was given to me. I've worn 6. I've worn 40.
Now
I've
you
worn, I think, 80
now you
before.
picked
So
3. Was there a reason you picked 3?
I just love the way it looks on a jersey.
Okay.
It looks good.
That's interesting.
It
Because
looks good on the jersey. Allen Iverson was, of course, one of my favorite players growing up in Philly. So, um, everybody wanted to wear 3
and now Bryce
when
Harper
was
wearing 3.
Bryce Harper wears 3.
But
Yeah.
I can't remember who was the last Eagle to wear number 3?
Oh my goodness. Zach Pascal, I believe.
Really?
I believe it was Zach Pascal.
Was it? Okay.
And the only name that comes before Zach Pascal was Mike Kafka.
Kafka wore 3? I thought he wore 8. He wore 3. Okay.
Maybe he did wear 8.
I don't know.
I think he might have worn 3.
Because obviously Hertz is 1, Slay is 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. And 4. Jake Elliott's 4, right?
Yeah, Jake's 4. So
Okay.
it sounds like if they do need my help, I can get that number 3 jersey.
There you probably could. I think it's available.
It's available.
So, all right. So let's look into the Sharper crystal ball, okay?
Yeah.
That we got from the Sharper image, the crystal ball, okay?
Yes.
By the way, for anybody watching and listening, that's what I called Tyrone the Sharper image, because I always comment on what you're wearing. The guy is probably the most stylish guy at the TV station.
Oh man.
Now, granted, that doesn't set the bar very high compared. No, I'm kidding. No, but let's.
Jay, you put a lot of pressure on me, man. You put a lot of pressure on me.
You always come through. You always come
Thank
through,
you.
man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, we got to look into the crystal ball.
Mhm.
Now, if the Eagles, well, first of all, will the Eagles make the playoffs? Let me ask you that first.
I had them at least making the wild card round, and at least from what I've seen in the early parts. I don't know if you remember, Jay, but I think after week one, I told you the Eagles are going to go into the bye week at 2-2.
I think
You
I do
remember when
recall
I
that.
said that? I
Yeah.
said they're going to go into the bye week 2-2, and I got that right. So I think I don't think they get a bye. I don't. I think they get a wild card, and then I don't make playoff predictions after that.
Okay.
I don't
That
predict
that's
play. I just think that wild card, at least, I do believe that they make the playoffs because of what's in front of them right now. They could easily go on a 4-game winning streak.
yeah.
Easily. You
Well,
have,
but that's the trouble with this team. It's like you don't know what
I
team's going to
know.
come out. They could easily win the next four. They could
Yes,
easily lose the next four. It's like you don't know
absolutely.
what's going to happen, and especially with the way all of a sudden the Washington Commanders came out of nowhere. They finally
Yeah,
got themselves a quarterback. He's a hell of a
yep.
player.
He's a
I
great
mean,
player.
it used to be you look at the Washington. A lot of Eagles fans saw every year. Oh, there's 2 wins. Not so much anymore.
Nah, no, not anymore. You know what? Like I said, I'd never speak that because I've seen some wild things happen in the NFL, and a lot of people will call. Okay, so they have the Giants this week, who what 2-4 or something like that, and then they have the Bengals, who just got their second win over the Giants, and then they have, I believe, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who only have 1 or 2 wins. So you're looking at this schedule and everyone's go, "Oh, that's a trap game." And I'm like, "What is your definition of a trap game? Is a trap game just a bad team looking to come in and win, or is a trap game just you think the team's going to lose because it's a random week that you decided?" I don't really like the whole trap game thing. Any game could be a trap game
Yeah,
if a trap game means you lose. Because we know it's hard to win games in the NFL. Players say that all the time. It's hard to win games in the NFL. So, I mean, hopefully they take advantage of this stretch of bad teams. They come out of this stretch 7-2, 7-3. That would be fantastic. I might say they go to, get maybe have a chance at a first round bye. I don't know.
that would be nice.
It
So,
would be nice.
okay, assuming they make the playoffs, but assuming it's an early exit, is that reason enough to fire Sirianni? Even though he's made the playoffs every year he's been here, including a
Yes.
Super Bowl appearance, I mean, is it unreasonable to fire the guy if say they
Mm,
get beaten in the first round?
I think if you want to argue the case for Rob Thompson, you have to argue the case for Nick Sirianni. They've both been around just about the same amount of time.
Yeah,
Both have
good point.
went to a championship. Both have went to, uh, World Series, Super Bowl. Both
Yeah.
have won conference championships, and so you can make that argument for him. I think he could be fired right now, honestly, and I think that's just because of he hasn't lost his locker room, and I think that's what's keeping him around. It seems like players are speaking up for him. They're not taking like subtle shots at him on social media or anything like that. So I think that if he at least makes the playoff, and I believe we discussed this before, he will get another year at least
Yeah.
because the Eagles' window to win a Super Bowl, I would say it's a good window with the way they set this roster up. They've extended Devontae Smith. They've extended their AJ Brown, their number one. You got Saquon for a few years. You got Jalen Hurts. Like you have that core offense. You got a young defense. They have a window. So I think if he goes to the playoffs this year and gets knocked in the first round, I would call Laurie. I would try to get Laurie's number and say, yeah, let him go. Get him out of here.
Hey, listen.
Fans are going to want that anyway. I'm telling you. They are going to want that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of fans, as you said, as you alluded to, a lot of fans want it right now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
are you worried about Jalen Hurts and that it seems like there's a bit of, well, or more than a bit of regression there?
Jalen Hurts makes it hard for me to worry about him because I like his demeanor. And he showed more enthusiasm this year on the field. I just like how calm, cool, and collected he is. I know sometimes as an athlete, once you get in your head too much, you really just go downhill from there and you start to overdo it and try to just do crazy things to try to make up for whatever mistakes or whatever you've done. Um, it's early in the season. I think he's showing some of the things that he showed last year with not seeing the field well. It's been a long day for us, Jay.
It
Uh,
sure
not seeing the
has.
field well, and I think he needs to get the ball out quicker. You see a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL. 2 seconds, it's out, and I think he might stare at one receiver too long. So Jalen Hurts has the potential to be one of those top 10 quarterbacks. If he's not already, some people might argue he's not, but I think he has the potential to be that if he cleans up some of the small things that'll put him over the top. He has the ability to throw the ball down the field. He made some beautiful throws on Sunday. I mean, AJ Brown made great catches,
He
but
really did.
he just drops it right in the pocket for him on a lot of those catches. And I'm just, people don't give him credit for what he does well because he might turn the ball over or whatever. But I wouldn't say I'm worried about him. I think it's too early in the season for me to be worried about him, but his demeanor allows me to give him a little bit of grace as my quarterback.
One thing I do like what he does, I do like, when he knows he's got a receiver who can pretty much get up and get any ball, he has no problem with just putting the ball up there. You know what I mean? And showing confidence in his receiver. And that I will say that I do like. Want to do one more football question before we move to the Sixers. Our old friend Doug Peterson, does he last the season?
It's going to be hard to make a case for him at this point. I think the Jags are 1-4 right now, 1-5.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to make a case for Doug. He's a good coach. Obviously, we
I
got a
agree with
Super
you.
Bowl. We got a good Super Bowl here with him. Fun times. They got a statue outside of Lincoln Financial Field. Great, wonderful. But I would look at that Jaguars team and say, how much of this falls on Doug and how much of this falls on the general manager to put pieces
Agreed.
around Trevor Lawrence.
Yep, I agree.
So I think it comes down, it's going to take a deeper look. When you look at the record, people automatically want to call for the coach's head, but I'm just not that person. I think Doug is a good coach. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have to look at their team and see what they have on their team. So I don't know. It's hard to say. They always say the NFL is a business, so it could happen. They could clip him.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was upset when he left here. I mean, the whole circumstances behind him leaving the Eagles. And listen, none of us are behind closed doors of the NovaCare complex, but all the reports were that Lurie and Howie Roseman were saying, look, these are the coaches you're going to hire. And he said, to hell with that. I won the Super Bowl. I want to hire who I want to hire, which you can't blame him for that. And you have to admire a guy for kind of, holding to his principles and being like, all right, look, then I'm out of here.
Yeah. You got me thinking now. I'm somewhat of a conspiracy. I get pretty deep.
Okay.
So we talk about Nick Sirianni being fired and Doug being fired. Do you bring Doug back if they both get fired?
Can I tell you something? That thought did cross my mind, Tyrone. I would bring him back in a heartbeat. I would. Listen, what is the goal of every football coach every season? What is the goal?
It's Super Bowl.
Okay. How many coaches in Eagles history have done that?
Yeah.
Only one.
One.
And if you have a chance to bring him back, to me, you bring him back. But
I would definitely. Belichick's name's been tossed around the Eagles a little bit too.
You know what?
It's all rumors, but I've seen it quite a few times. And
okay, but
I don't know. Would Belichick work in Philadelphia? Like, would he appeal to the fan base? I think they might like him, but I don't know.
If he wins, he'll appeal to the fan base. Okay?
Oh, of course.
but here's the problem. If Jeffrey Lurie were to hire Bill Belichick, he would have to, and Howie Roseman, they would have to, they'd have to give power to Bill Belichick, and they're not going to do that.
They're not going
to do that. Ever since they gave power to Chip Kelly and they got burned, it's like, we're never doing that again. Well, why not? Nope. You gave it to the wrong person.
Yeah.
The concept of a coach having personnel power is not a bad thing. They just gave it to the wrong guy.
The wrong guy. And we see what happened there. The Eagles should have 2 Super Bowls. Just leave that right there. At least.
No, I agree with you. I agree. But I would love to I'd love to see Peterson come back. I mean, stranger things have happened, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Right.
Sure
All right.
has.
So, and one of the things you and I talked about this morning was that it's all of a sudden, what happened to Philadelphia sports? I mean, the Phillies are out in the first round, well, their first round anyway.
It's been rough.
The Eagles are struggling; they don't look good, and
Yeah.
now you got the Sixers. You got this situation with Joel Embiid and his knee, and then Paul George hyperextends his knee, and
Yes.
no structural damage, thankfully. But he's doubtful for the opener.
Yeah.
And then Embiid comes out and says, "Well, I probably can't do any more back-to-backs for the rest of my
Crazy.
career." I mean, how much
Insane.
is this guy making, Tyrone?
Oh, a lot. That's fresh money too. That's on top
Yes.
of what he already had. They just extended him. That's fresh money. I can't tell you, Jay, though, like how frustrated I am with the Sixers. I'm gonna say it again. I am the biggest Philadelphia fan. I love everything about Philadelphia.
Hey, look, I've known
Uh,
you for a while. I see that. I see you are a passionate Philly sports fan.
Yes, man. I was born and raised there, and I've been through the process. I went to draft parties. I was at a draft party when Embiid got drafted, and every time I want to get excited about the Sixers, something bad happens. And the same thing happened this year. I looked at this roster and everyone was like, "Oh, Paul George not the answer." Da, 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 da. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, when you look at everything else that the Sixers have, and then they added some few guys that maybe the casual fan may not have noticed. They have a good roster right now. They have a good roster, and I'm like, I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to do it because I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking, this is a team that could potentially get past the second round. And then Embiid comes out and he said, no, I can't play back to backs. And then you have Paul George with a scary bruise that he gets the other day.
Yeah, that
Um,
was. I'm sure you saw the video, right? That I kind of had to,
I
look
did. I
away.
think I could be a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could be a doctor though, because when I looked at it, I said, oh, it's just a bruise.
Oh, really?
I'm so serious. I was like, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be okay. But yeah, I get so excited. I tried to get excited about the Sixers and boom, like all these things are happening. So I mean, granted, I told someone the other day, I'd rather stuff like this happen to like Paul George or someone in the beginning of the year, right? And that's the same thing Embiid said. He's like, we're just going to make sure that I'm as healthy as I can be for the playoffs. And I'm thinking to myself, the playoffs is not guaranteed to you. You have to go play.
Well,
It's not just guaranteed.
not only that,
So
it seems like every year they try to
every
manage
year.
him to get to the playoffs, but then
Yes.
something always happens in the playoffs. I
We
mean,
read
he's always hurt.
what happened when he had some what was that with his eye? I forget what's it called.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I can't think. I know what you're talking about. Bell's palsy, right?
I'm like, how? Like, only in Philadelphia will this happen to our best
Well,
player.
and then a couple years ago, didn't he get like elbowed in the face and he broke like an orbital
had to
bone or
wear the
something? He had to
mask.
wear a mask. So
Orbital fracture. I was
right
like,
now, and
oh my
listen, and
goodness.
that's not his fault. And getting Bell's palsy
It's
is not
not.
his fault. But
No,
but
no,
the
not
other
at all.
stuff, there's always something with his knee.
Yeah.
So it's like you start to wonder. Like when they signed him to the extension, I mean, you kind of had to, I guess. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, it's like that's a ton of money. And do you really see them ever winning a title with Embiid? I
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
I
know
don't
if I
know
see it.
either. I don't know either, Jay. I'm serious. I don't know either. I think the mindset of that front office is we have a better chance to win with him than without him.
Right.
And I think that's what they're going off of. When Embiid is on the court, he's one of the, if not the most dominant big men in the
Oh yeah.
league. And dominant in this era because dominant in like Shaq's era is a different type of basketball.
Right.
So for the old school folks who know about that, I know we're talking about two different type of dominance, right? But Embiid could be Shaq type of dominant if he just stayed in the paint, but he likes to shoot threes. It's the way the game is played now, whatever. But he makes a difference when he's on the floor for the Sixers. So I think that front office is saying he's one of the best big men in the league. If we don't have him, who do we have in that position? So yeah, let's extend him. He wants to be a Sixer for life. But I'm with you. I don't know if they win a championship with him. Can they? Yes. But health is a big, big, big problem. It's been a big problem for a long time with Joel Embiid.
So, and that's the thing. It's like you mentioned the process. The process went on for what, 4 years? There was 1 year where they were 10-72. Okay,
Jay, I was buying merch when they were 10-72. I was that loyal. I was sitting courtside for
you're
$60 because they were that bad.
you were sitting
But I was
courtside
still
probably by
going.
yourself, right?
Me and my sister, I dragged my sister along with
But
me.
here's the thing. It's like, to me, the process on the surface didn't fail. Okay,
Okay.
but it's how they went about doing the process that failed. Okay, because you had Markelle
Mm-hmm.
Fultz, which was a number one pick, which was wasted. You had Ben Simmons, which was a top
Wasted.
pick, which was wasted. So you got Embiid. So I don't think the process failed, but the way they executed the process failed. And the Sixers are no better off than they were before the process because they couldn't get past the second round then. They still can't get past the second round now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I don't think the process can be deemed as failed unless Embiid ends his career with the Sixers and doesn't have a championship. Because I mean, they literally call him Joel the Process Embiid.
Yeah.
So obviously, you've seen the most success out of the process from Embiid. Simmons is gone, Markelle Fultz is gone, and so I think he has to be a part of the championship team for the process, quote unquote, to not be considered a fail.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Um,
Hmm.
Now listen, hindsight's 2020. We know it, but
Yeah.
looking back, Embiid playing in the Olympics, your thoughts?
I, I just thought it was cool. I guess it's a personal thing, right? As a fan, you're going, that's great. I'm really happy for him. But did he get injured in the Olympics at all? Why is he so healthy in the Olympics? What doctors do they have?
They got
They
gold
so
medal
healthy because
doctors.
I don't remember him getting injured one time and
You're
being
right.
fully available for the Olympics. Why can't we get that Embiid? So I don't have a problem with it because I know when you love the game, man, you just want to play it as much as you can. So if I have it, I'm looking at this Avengers team as they call them, just a group of great players. You have the opportunity to play with some of the best that has ever played the game. You have a chance to become an Olympic gold medalist. You have a chance to see the world and travel. As an athlete, all of those things play a factor.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm him, I probably would have played too. But I want the healthy Olympics and be the one that's available.
Exactly. No, so I remember, going into it, I was dead set against it. I thought it was a bad idea. And
Yeah.
I think it might have been the aforementioned Mike Sealski. I was talking to him, and he made a great point. He said, forget about the whole, injury thing. If Embiid goes and plays in the Olympics and he plays with all these NBA superstars and they win a gold medal, well, you know what? He finally knows what it feels like to win. And maybe he takes that back
To
with
win.
him to the Sixers. And I thought that was a great point. And, I enjoyed watching the USA team in the Olympics. But yeah, it's like, he comes back home and it's more of the same. You hear that he's having issues with his knee, but okay, he just played the entire Olympics. I mean, so when
played.
does it end? And is it sustainable? Not playing him
Yeah.
back to back ever. You're going to have to at some point, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, we're back to the money. We're back to the money. If I'm getting paid that much money, I'm Nick Castellanos from this past season. 162 games, Tyrone is there and ready to play ball. So if you tell me that I just got a fresh check on top of the big check that I had already got from the team,
Right.
you just got it. So I would the All-Star break. I'm not saying I'll never play a back-to-back in my career. That's just crazy. But to the point of that winning feeling of winning a gold medal, I've heard players say that it's special. It's not the same type of feeling as winning a championship in the NBA, though. Like they've almost put it above winning a championship in the NBA. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't
To a point, you're right.
put too like he knows what it's like to win, and doesn't know what it's like to win an NBA championship. He only knows what it's like to win an Olympic gold medal. Those are two different things. So I wouldn't harp too much on, okay, he knows what it feels like. Maybe he can bring that back. No, bring it back because you got all this money and you want to win here in the city. Congratulations on your gold medal. But those are, to me personally, those are two separate types of winnings right there.
No, that's a great point. All right, I don't want to keep you too much longer. This conversation, as usual, when we talk, it goes by pretty quick.
Yes, it does.
So we talked we talked about the doom and gloom of what Philly sports is these days.
Yeah.
Who wins the next championship? Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers. You can throw the Union in if you want to. Who wins the next one?
Oh man, that's a good question, Jay. I
don't know either.
I'm so down as a Philadelphia fan right now. I want to say none of them. But I have a feeling that it could be the Eagles.
Really?
Um,
Based on what?
it's hard. It's the way they've set this roster up for the few years to come. I feel like their window is big.
Yeah.
If I would say the Eagles, but the Sixers would be like 1A because they also have set up a roster that could potentially make a run. And it's harder to win a championship in the NFL because the playoff format is one and done. You know, you lose, you're out. Basketball, I go down one game, I come back and win another game, and you just have more opportunities to keep your season alive. So I'm saying the Eagles only because of the way their team is set up for the long run. But I think the Sixers could be right there with them.
You know, it's funny.
I want the Flyers to win one, to be totally honest, but I don't know how long that's going to take.
Well, listen, that Matvei Michkov certainly looked good the other night. Scoring. I mean, the Flyers lost the game, but he scored 2 goals.
2 goals, yeah.
I've always said, okay, and like you, I've been a Philly sports fan my entire life, and I've got more than a few years on you. I remember some really awful Phillies teams in the '80s when I was a kid. Some awful Eagles teams. I mean, the Buddy Ryan Eagles teams were good teams, but they didn't win anything. But they were fun teams. But all I want is one championship from each team that I can look back on and be like, you know what, I remember everything about that season. So I got one from the Phillies in '08. I got one from the Eagles in 2017. I want one from the Sixers. I'm a huge hockey fan. I would love one from the Flyers. By the way, fun fact, and I'll have to show it to you because I have it in my phone somewhere. When I was a kid, I'm like 12 years old, so it's 1985. The Flyers, it was the first round of the playoffs at the Spectrum. The Flyers were playing the New York Rangers in the first round of the playoffs. As we're walking in, my uncle took me to the game. As we're walking into the Spectrum, you might be too young to remember, there was a TV network in Philly, a pay cable network that they showed movies, but they also showed the Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies home games. It was called Prism. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I remember. I remember that.
There was a camera. There was a camera from Prism, right outside, filming people walking into the Spectrum. And I'm 12 years old, and I know it's going to be a shock to you. I was a really fat kid. Okay, so this pudgy fat kid, I open up my jacket and I point to the Flyers logo on my shirt, and that got pulled and it got used in the Flyers year-end like retrospective, like the video yearbook that they put out every year. So I'll have to show it to you. Yeah, I have the clip on my phone. It's pretty cool.
That is an all-time clip right there.
But
awesome.
I would love to see the Flyers win the cup. But it's funny to answer the question. You said the Flyers. I'm sorry. You said the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then 1A Sixers. If I were to answer that question, I still think I picked the Phillies. Because I still think if everybody's clicking, which can happen at any time, they still have the lineup to do it. They just haven't done it.
That's a good point. I mean, it's definitely a tough question because I'm with you on the fact that I want all of them to win. I think for the Eagles, my experience, I was working at the link when it happened, so I got my own Super Bowl ring. It's my own staff ring with my name on it.
Are you serious?
I do.
What? Okay. What did you do at the link?
I I was like the Swiss Army knife, like I am at PHL17. I was all over. You know, when you first start off, you're a rookie, you're kind of at the gates, and then you go inside and then you usher. Most of my I did 10 years, so most of my years, I would say 6 or 7 of the years I was an usher on the Miller Lite flight deck. So if you guys ever at the game, the Miller Lite flight deck is legendary to me. Okay, that I got a lot of great memories there on the flight deck.
But you
But I did
actually
quality
you have a ring.
control.
You have a ring. Seriously?
I have my own staff ring. Yeah, I have to show it to you. I should have brought it down in the office so I can show it to you on camera. But it stays in the box upstairs.
That's
It's a little
awesome.
different than the player's ring. It doesn't have all the diamonds and everything.
That's
It has a
okay,
few
man.
diamonds.
That's still
But
a
my
great
name is on
keepsake.
it,
That's
and
awesome.
it's Josiah's forever. And I told him when I die, do not get rid of this ring. Our name is on it. Do not get rid of it. But I think I said Eagles because that experience of being there and being a part of that, and then that parade was amazing. I missed the Phillies '08 parade because I was in high school. So my mom told me I couldn't miss school.
God, I
So
feel really old, Tyrone. Thank you.
if my
You
mom
were in high
sees this,
school in '08. Oh my
I
God.
was in high school and I was a sophomore, I believe, in high school. And my mom told me I could not go to parade. And I go to school and nobody's in school. Like it's very few people there. Everyone's at the parade, and I missed it. So that's a good point. I mean, I guess I should have said Phillies because my sister works there. I want her to win a ring. But I want all of them to win. But I think the Eagles have kind of a special place in my heart because I got to experience that before. My son was in the belly when they won. So I think he's the good luck
He's the good
charm.
luck charm. I
He's a
love
good
that.
luck charm, yeah. So I
Do
want
me
to
a
experience
favor.
that parade with him.
Let's let's end this on a really high note.
Yes.
Tell me about because look, we've seen your son on TV. He's a cute little kid. He's cool. He takes after his dad. Talk to me about Josiah.
That's my guy, man. I hear players talking about their why, and Josiah's my why. You know what I mean? He's the reason that I get up and go to work every day. And you talk about doing those hard stories and kind of having to flip the switch and go and talk about Eagles or whatever. He just sometimes those moments are draining as a reporter. But when I look at him and he just makes me motivated to kind of keep going. And he was off on Monday when I reported on the Eagles, and my wife let me know that like when I came on the TV, he was like, "Daddy, this Daddy," and I've always
Isn't that
wanted
the
that.
greatest thing?
Yeah,
Oh man.
it's really amazing, man. I've always wanted that. Of course, I envisioned that as an NFL player because that was my dream for him to be excited to see me on TV. To see me on TV now, just talking about sports and talking about things that I love. So that's my guy. He's great. I think he might be made for TV, Jay. I don't know. He has that good personality. He gets a little shy sometimes, but he is not afraid of the camera. He will talk to the camera. He will talk to me. So,
Well,
yeah, shout out to Josiah. He's awesome. He's great. 6 years old. He loves all of our Philly teams. I'm doing good so far, Philly fans. I'm doing good. He loves all of the Philly mascots.
that's
He says, you know what hockey team I like? I like the Flyers.
there
I
you
think I
go.
took him to a Flyers game when he was like 8 months old.
See, that's good parenting right there. That is really good parenting. And
Yeah.
when you hear that he's watching you on TV and he's like, "Daddy," I mean, it kind of like you tear up, don't you? I mean,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. It definitely pulls on the heartstrings. I'm not it's only certain things that can make me cry. I'm not the most emotional guy in that regard of tears, but you can attest to this that becoming a dad makes you a little bit softer.
Oh, it
I
does.
grew up in Philly, so I've always kind of had this rough kind of rugged mentality, fighter mentality, but your kids will definitely soften you up. So
Oh no.
sometimes he says things to me and I'm like, "Oh, buddy, don't do this to me."
But
But he's great. He's awesome,
it's
man.
the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And my son is in the room right now, who's now 21. Uh,
Wow.
20 years ago, so he's a year old, and this is one of my favorite pictures. It's a picture of him at my in-laws' house, and they're watching me on TV, and it's a picture of like from behind his head, the perspective of him watching me on the TV, and that's one of my favorite pictures. It's
It's awesome.
It's
I don't want to make you feel old again, Jay.
Go for
I
it.
have that moment, but it's just in video form. It's a video. I have a video when I first did my at the other station I was at, first did my first show. I was anchoring there, and he was just watching me do the show, and they recorded him from behind, and he's like, "Daddy, there's Daddy." So
yeah, mine's in a scrapbook. I think I had to take it to like Photomat or something to get the film developed. It was a long time ago. So your previous station, you were at Fox, right? Fox 29.
Well, I did some production assistant stuff at Fox 29 before I went out to Maryland.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I was at Fox 29 doing production assistant. I got an opportunity out in Maryland, and I was anchoring out there for a little bit before I came back home to PHL17.
Very cool. Well, we love having you. You're one of my favorite people in the building. And
I appreciate that, Jay.
I said I'd keep you 45 minutes, and I kept you an hour 5. So
it's okay.
I owe you 20 minutes somewhere, Tyrone. We'll figure that out at some point.
Just be mindful of that when you're telling me to rap, and I try to get out on time for you, man.
Listen, man, I don't want to complain because this is gonna open up another can of worms here. But yeah, so people watching and listening. So the full time Monday through Friday thing is producing the morning news, and sometimes when I tell people to rap, sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. And when they don't listen and the show runs late, it causes me a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But Tyrone is not one of those people who causes me stress, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, Jay. We're a good team, man. I appreciate you.
We definitely are a good team. Social media stuff before we go, where people can follow you.
Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram, T Sharper TV. That is my Instagram. I think that is also my Facebook. I don't use Facebook a lot, but if you send me a message or you follow me, whatever, I will see it and I'll follow back. So yeah, give me a follow, man. I appreciate it. T Sharper TV. That's
there.
Me.
You go. See, that's a generational thing too. I hear from
yes,
because I use Facebook a lot, and I hear like from both of my kids that's old people use Facebook. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what I call it, Jay. I don't want to tell you what I call Facebook.
What do you call it? Go ahead.
I call it the retirement home.
Oh no, you don't.
I don't want to go in the retirement home, but every now and then I have to go on there because shout out to my family, man. We have some real viewers that constantly watch us. They consistently watch us. So anytime I post my stuff to the web, they're reposting, and I'll get notifications on Facebook because a lot of their following is on Facebook. So every now and then I will go on there and talk back to people and answer messages.
Don't be knocking the Facebook, Tyrone.
I can't knock the Facebook.
Don't be
it gets a lot of traffic
man.
on there. It's a lot of traffic on there, a lot of views.
Tyrone, I can't thank you enough for this, man. This was a lot of fun,
yeah,
and I know we'll continue our sports conversations in the building, but I'll have to get you back on the podcast too. Tyrone, thanks, man. This has been fun.
I had a good time. Thank you, Jack.
All right, man. Take care. And thank you for tuning in to episode 23 of the Phillies Sports Convo. We'll see you next time.